Hello, everyone. You've tuned into Himal Podcasts. This is a wrap up of season one of our special series, Partitions of the Heart Conversations with Harsh Mander. The 12 episodes of this season address the question of Muslim life and death in Modi's India. Harsh Mander spoke to eminent and emerging voices on the crisis of Muslims, the increased violence towards them, the political and legal processes that are leaving many disenfranchised in many different parts of the country, and the lived experiences of Indian Muslims amid the rise of the Hindu right and escalating Islamophobia. Harsh joins me now to talk about the highlights from the season and the learnings from these conversations. So, hi Harsh, thank you for being here today.
Hello, Nayantara, my pleasure.
Harsh, let's begin with why we actually produced this podcast. We started, we've been running this season for the last 3 months. In the very beginning, why did you feel that it was important to have these conversations? And also, so why should people be listening to them?
See, I think India's republic is passing through its most difficult phase. Um, and, there was a certain broad consensus during the freedom struggle about the kind of country we would build after the British left. And it's interesting that there were different streams. I mean, the major stream of the freedom struggle was led by Mahatma Gandhi, but there were also streams. There was Bhagat Singh, and the revolutionaries. There was Subhash Chandra Bose. Uh, there was Baba Sahib Ambedkar. But what is interesting is that they might have disagreed on other things, but on their imagination for the India we would build, they were all in agreement that this would be a country of equal rights, equal belonging, equal freedoms to people of every faith and identity and caste and community. That it would not matter which god you worship, or if you worship no god, it would not matter what language you spoke, what your caste was, what your ethnicity was, what the size of your eyes and nose are, etc., the color of your skin, or your sexuality, or your wealth. It would not matter. You would be an equal citizen with equal belonging to this country. And when I travel around the world, in countries like in Europe and so on, I realize how extraordinary was this imagination, this idea. I would call it equal belonging without conditionalities, except the conditionality of accepting the morality of the constitution. That's the only conditionality. We call it the idea of India. Uh, and it is that India which is deeply imperiled today. So during the last 11 years, we see uh, the growing uh, assertion and construction of a very different India. And central to that has been continuous attacks in multiple ways to the rights of India's Muslims to live with their head high, with their hearts free of fear, as people of equal belonging to this country. And my very dear friend, who we also have included in the podcast, in fact, the only non Muslim person in the podcast is Member of Parliament Manoj. And I really loved something he said. He said that Muslims are not footnotes of the India story, they are co-authors of that India story. And it's a profound articulation of the idea of they are not just here at sufferance of the majority. This is their country as much as it is of anyone else, and they are committed to this country. They're building this country. I sometimes say, that the rest of us actually are Indian by chance. We didn't have another country to choose. And when we do have this other country to choose, many of us are sort of applying for foreign passports. Uh, it is India's Muslims who actually had a choice in 1947 about whether they wanted to live in a country dedicated to a Muslim country or a country which promised equal rights to people of every faith. And they chose India.
They chose
So
to stay.
they chose to stay. And so they are Indian by choice, the rest of us are Indian by chance. So if any community in this country really has actually proved its love and loyalty for this country, it is India's Muslims. And yet, yet they are today facing over the last 11 years massive assaults. You're having genocidal hate speech, you're having bulldozers outside any legal process, specifically targeting Muslim households and properties. You're having, the use and the weaponizing of laws such as those for cow protection. You have lynch mobs. You have a profound sense of fear being created. Um, and even prayer has become a crime, and so on. And the whole issue of mosques and temples being, reopened across the country. So it is a time when Muslims are centrally under assault, and it's not simply that a community is being assaulted. It is by assaulting this community that uh, that idea of India that I spoke of earlier, that the constitutional idea of India, the idea of India's freedom struggle, the idea of India of centuries of co-living, that India is profoundly threatened in these last 11 years. And uh, at the epicenter of that battle is India's Muslims. And therefore, I felt it was really necessary. It as a kind of, a friend of mine, Amirullah, who's also uh, part of the uh, podcast series. He said, Harsh, it's a writing of our history of these times. So it is really a meditation on history as it is unfolding before our eyes.
So, in this season, you've spoken to people with a range of experiences, from the historian Irfan Habib and activist Syeda Hameed. These are people, Irfan Habib, in fact, remembers India at independence. Syeda Hameed talks a lot about the decades just after. You've also spoken to young people like Afreen Fatima and Zeyad Masroor Khan, who are writing and fighting against communal agendas in the present. Um, just overall, what have your biggest takeaways from these conversations been?
You know, it's been extraordinary. I mean, the conversations. When I set off on this journey with Himal, uh, I didn't know exactly where it would go. Uh, but it's been a very rich and very diverse, perspectives on precisely this question of what it means to be Muslim in India today. Um, so, and almost each of the discussions actually combined the personal with the political, in a very sort of uh, very profound way. So, the older members, the older people that I spoke to, you spoke about Irfan Habib, Saab, and Saida Appa, Saeed Mirza. These are people who are actually older even than me. So uh, they witnessed and lived through an India which was much more idealistic, where it seemed that after the madness of partition and Gandhiji's assassination, um, we had resolved, we had put out those fires, we had ejected the poisons from our social sort of fabric. And so there is, firstly, uh, there's a very important recollection of the idealism of the early decades of India's, so the building of India's republic. I think that's one thing that one sees again. When talking to people closer to my age and somewhat younger than me, they have their memories. So whether it's Hilal or Seema Chishti or Ahmed or they have memories of both what was and what we are becoming. And then with people like Zeyad and Afreen, we see people who've, most you know, of their conscious coming of age has been in times, in Modi's India and in the preparation for Modi's India. And that that range and that contrast you see. Um, the the second thing that I think emerged was was a you know a continuing sense of hope and faith despite everything. There was a sense of that this is my country, and Shahrukh Alam and many people continue to affirm that this is my country. There's no question. I mean, and we're going through this difficult time, but I, Zad somewhere said, my country needs me. It doesn't realize how much it needs me. That sense of ownership, the sense that that this idea of India that we speak of will prevail. That was the second. I think the only person who, out of that entire group, who I think is so heartbreaking that she's finding it difficult to locate hope is Syeda Hameed. But almost everybody else spoke of hope. Uh, and I think the third is, of course, the specifics of how this project of hate and exclusion and expulsion and stigmatization is playing out. And so we got many aspects of it. Amirullah, in a much more scholarly way, spoke about, uh, uh, you know, the economic deprivations, the breakdown of state provisioning for this community. Mohsin spoke about law and its failures in Shahrukh and so on. So uh, we got a sense of the granularity of how this project of uh, excluding, dismantling the Muslims, Muslim citizens' right to citizenship is actually playing out on the ground. There's no need to amend the constitution. I mean, you're doing it within the framework of the constitution and India's institutions, which was supposed to the judiciary, the civil services, the media, how they seem to have, in a sense, succumbed to enabling this transformation. So the pain, the sense of betrayal, the sense of loss, I think that's the third thing that came through. But always, in this measured philosophical kind of engagement with pain and loss and betrayal, uh, that this isn't the full story, and we will we will get back uh, our place in a country that we love and belong
Certainly, and of course, through the season, we see both these personal experiences, personal stories, as well as the importance and the depth of the work that many of these people are doing. Shahrukh Alam is on the front lines of
to.
legal battles for the Muslim community. Aman Wadud is doing work in
Assam.
Assam, where
And I was just with him yesterday, actually,
mm,
and yeah, the kind of the chief minister there, for instance, is so open in he's actually declared war on this segment of his citizens, and he's unapologetic about it. I mean, he says things like, uh, you know, the foreigner tribunals are examining people's citizenship, and he said, we will withdraw all cases except those against Muslims.
mm,
Or I was in Assam yesterday, and you're seeing they just demolished. I went to a place where they've demolished 1,600 people's homes in the middle of the rain. Every one of them Muslim, and there's no plans for what they're immediately doing there, but they do it in that way. So it is, it is. It's playing out, and there is resistance, and it is the resistance of the people we spoke to in different ways, both personal. And Afreen also talks about her personal resistance uh, to what is unfolding.
we are going to bring everyone a second season of this podcast. We've just started work on it. Harsh, would you like to tell our listeners what this second season will be all about?
See, so as I was saying earlier, there are two ideas for India. One is the idea of, I would say, the idea of equal belonging for people of every faith and identity and way of life. So that's one kind of idea. But there's this other idea, and I think we have to. The fact that it is at at a moment of great ascendancy, it's like a juggernaut. Every day we, we are being confronted by, and I think young people don't realize how this is actually a very clear ideological project. I mean, the prime minister himself spoke from the ramparts of of the Red Fort on Independence Day. What did he say? First, on the one hand, he said the RSS was a great organization, but he also spoke about this great, what he called the demographic challenge, conspiracy. And that is actually the sum total of a whole set of conspiracies. So this demographic conspiracy implies this whole idea of love jihad. It implies, people coming in from Bangladesh and Pakistan, and even the Rohingya from Myanmar, to change India's demographic character. This idea that Muslims deliberately have large numbers of children so that they want to. So all of these really horrible prejudices is enunciated by the Prime Minister on the day of India's independence, where Nehru had stood and talked about India's tryst with destiny. You're talking about this kind of prejudice. I think we need to understand this alternative idea for India much better. And I often, when I talk to young people, I say that I'll speak passionately about one idea of India because I believe in it. Uh, but you need to understand the other ideas as well, and you make an informed choice. So those who vote for the BJP and think the RSS is a great organization, by all means, you have the freedom to make that judgment. But understand uh, what you, uh, what you are believing in. No, so I think the importance of, and it's exactly 100 years this year in October on the Sahara, and by a strange irony of history, October 2nd, because the RSS was established on this era. The Sahara today falls on Gandhiji's birth anniversary. October 2nd is both the Sahara and Gandhiji's birth anniversary. And, we need to understand. what was Gandhi's path and what is the RSS's path. Uh, so I've already recorded the first episode, which is really with Rajmohan Gandhi, uh, the 90-year-old grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, and his sort of very accomplished biographer. And I spoke about, Gandhi's assassination, what was the ideology and thinking that led to it, and why has the RSS remained been so hostile to Gandhiji. It's interesting when you look at the literature that the RSS, always had two enemies. One was India's Muslims, but the other enemy was
Hmm.
Gandhiji, and to understand what is that hostility to Gandhiji. And we'll go on to see what role they played and did not play in the freedom struggle. How have they risen? What are the issues they've raised? How have they risen to the kind of political power they have? What is their attitude to women? What is their attitude to caste, to Dalits? What is how have they communicated their ideas? How is the story of the RSS in the south of India different from the rest of the country? So these are the kinds of questions that we will try to explore in the second session, in the
Right.
second
So we'll
season.
be talking about the history of the RSS, its legacy, and its continued role in India and Indian politics now. Harsh, thank you
Yeah.
so much for season one and those very illuminating and important conversations. And thank you for being here today and wrapping it all up for us.
Thank you so much, Nayantara. It really was, it was just an idea. I felt that we need to bear witness uh, to to this moment in the history of our republic where we seem to be completely altering course, or there's a great attempt to alter course. And I think I felt the need. I'm trying to write extensively about this as well. But these conversations were really wonderful because really thoughtful but very diverse minds and hearts from the Muslim community reflected on these times. And I think I really hope uh, that all of India pays attention. And you facilitated that, and Himal, South Asian, and it's been a great partnership. And so thank you
It
so
has
much
been
for
a
that.
great partnership, and I must thank all our listeners who've been with us through season one. To any of y'all who haven't listened to these episodes yet, follow or subscribe to the Himal podcast, Himal South Asian podcast channels on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And of course, watch this space for season two on 100 years of the RSS and its communal legacy. You can also subscribe to our newsletters for updates on all our podcasts, stories, events, and more. Himal Podcast brings you the best discussions on South Asia. Support our work by becoming a Himal patron. You can go to our website, himalmag.com, and click on Support Himal. You can also write to us at editorial@himalmag.com. We'll be back soon with another great set of conversations. See you then.